This podcast is intended for educational purposes only. It is not to be construed as an offer, solicitation, recommendation, or endorsement of any particular security, product, or service. For more information, visit assetbuilder.com. From the Asset Builder headquarters in Dallas, Texas, welcome to the Keep It Simple podcast, a show that discusses simple techniques and philosophies to help de-stressify investors around the world. I'm your host, Joey Bodinger, and welcome to the Keep It Simple podcast. Welcome, everyone, to the Keep It Simple podcast. I'm your host, Joey Bodinger, and today we're going to be going over 3 techniques to help you get in control of your finances. Now, we're doing a little bit different of a podcast segment today because we're just going to do a shorter one, something that's a little bit more consumable, maybe something you can listen to really quickly on the way to work or while you're doing a quick activity, doing the dishes or something like that. But something that's a little bit more consumable, quick to listen to. But anyway, we'll get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about, right, and mainly today's topic is going to be about budgeting and 3 rules to help you with your budget. But the first one I want to go over is called the 50-30-20 rule, right? It's probably the most common. You've probably heard of it before. But I want to address it. I want to make sure that everyone, if you haven't heard of it, knows about it. But what it is, it's very simple, very easy to implement. It is 50% goes towards your needs, right? This is like housing, this is insurance, this is healthcare, things of that nature. 50% of your income, right, after-tax income goes towards that. 30% is now going to go towards non-discretionary items. Now, this is things like clothing, shopping, eating out, things that aren't, like I said, essential, things that are not essential. And then 20%, and I'd argue this is the most important one, and you kind of want to apply the pay yourself first mindset here, but 20% goes towards savings and debt repayments, and or investing. I want to make sure that's clear too. So of that 20%, I would say you want to make sure that you're building a emergency fund, whether that's 3 to 6 months worth of expenses or more if you're a little bit more risk averse of an individual, and that might be just in case something unexpected in life happens, which as we know, life is unpredictable. So something unexpected probably will happen, but you want to make sure you're building that so that you can be financially stable when that event happens. And also, heaven forbid, you lose your job, right? You don't really have to change too much. And you have something to fall back on while you're looking for a job. You don't have to scramble for a job. And then the other ones, obviously, debt repayments. Want to make sure we're on top of those, not letting those get out of control, not letting the interest rate on those debts get too high. And then also, right, investing. Investing is very important. And I would say the best thing with this technique, like I said, is it's very simple to implement. And now you might be thinking, okay, that's a beautiful concept in theory. And it is, and it might not be practical for everyone, right? All of these 3 budget items that I'm going to go over may not be practical for everyone. But the 50-30-20 rule is really good for someone that's starting out, really good for someone that is maybe in their first job and doesn't have a ton of variability in their expenses month to month. It's just a good framework. It helps build that accountability. It helps get your mind wrapped around where your expenses are going, where your money is going. It helps prevent leaking, right? Things that we don't know that we're paying for. Like the other night, I just realized that I paid a subscription of $30 for an app that I had that I thought I canceled. Turns out I didn't, right? It helps you prevent those things, right? And even I, yes, as I'm talking about these things, need to make sure that I'm on top of it as well, right? You're not alone in this, that things leak, budgets can leak. But things like this, the 50-30-20 rule, help you prevent that leaking. So what if you say, hey, that's not really practical for me. It's kind of hard to implement. More of my expenses need to go towards the essentials, towards the needs. I have a higher, let's say, a house payment, and it's a little bit higher than 50%. Okay, that's okay. Let's move to the next one, right? The 80-20 rule. Now, I know I'm just changing the percentages here, but I want to make sure that you realize something. It still has you putting 20% towards savings and investing in debt repayments. That is very crucial, you all. And I would argue the first thing you do whenever you receive your income is make sure you take that 20% right off the top, right? Don't even try to flirt with it at the end of the month. We'll see what's there. No, take that off the top and then go from there as far as what your expenses will be or what you spend your money on. But again, I would do that. I would set up monthly distributions straight from your checking account into your savings for trying to meet that whatever goal you have, or monthly pulls from your checking account to your investment account, or automatic payments towards your debt. Just making those automatic and not having to think about them is really, really nice. So that way you make sure you're not missing a payment, and that way you're staying on track towards your goals. The rest of the 80%, right, goes towards whatever may have you, right? Whatever your expenses are after that 20% is saved, spend it, right? This is obviously a little bit looser of a budgeting technique, and something I would still make sure you're staying on top of. So tracking on a monthly basis, but it does allow you to understand a little bit more of where your expenses are going, but it does allow for more flexibility from month to month. So if you have a refrigerator you got to repair, well, okay, that's essential, and that might not work super well for the 50-30-20 rule, right? So this 80-20 rule allows you more flexibility. I would say this is, again, good for someone that's starting out with budgeting, someone that might be a little bit farther along in their career, and also someone that doesn't have regularity month to month as far as their expenses go. Now, the last one is one that I really, really love, and I think it's probably the best one, to be honest, and that's just my personal opinion, but it is the zero-based budget. And basically what this means is that every dollar you make has a job, and you assign it to that job. Now, it does take discipline to do this, and it does take involvement, but you can set up some easy habits to make sure that you stay involved, you stay on top of it, that you stay in control of your finances. So basically, if you have, let's say, $5,000 in monthly income, you set up a budget so that $5,000 in your expenses are used, right? So that at the end of the day, you have zero left over, right? That's where the zero-based budgeting comes from. So every dollar you have has an assignment, whether that's savings, whether that's paying down debt, whether that's clothing, whatever may have you, or shopping, house payment, something of that nature. Every dollar you make that month has an area that it is going towards and that is being used towards. Like I said, the challenge with this one is it takes discipline, you all. All budgets take discipline, but zero-based budgeting takes discipline. And I would say the reason I like this one the most is because it helps you stay on track. And the longer you can stay on track, the faster you will be to reach your goals. It's just simple, right? If you get off track from reaching your goals, you're probably not going to reach your goal nearly as fast as if you would have just stayed on track. Shocker. But that's what zero-based budgeting does. Now, a simple technique that I use, I set up a recurring reminder in my phone on the Reminders app every Sunday night to go over that week's expenses. And my wife and I use a budgeting software called Monarch Money. That is a great zero-based budgeting software. There's other ones out there. I know a really popular one is You Need a Budget. Those two tend to be the top two to use. My wife and I really love Monarch Money, but essentially I just do every Sunday night, and I was watching the NBA Finals game as I was doing it, as I just went over that week's expenses, made sure it had the right category, made sure it was going towards the right thing, and then was done, right? And it wasn't hard. It's not super complicated. Now, the initial setup is a little bit more involved, but once you get that initial setup going, it is easy money. Not easy money, but easy going from there, as long as you stay on top of it. But setting that reminder, taking care of that, and clicking that reminder off so you don't get that little red dot at the top corner of your app, which drives me up a wall. Taking care of that every month or every week is a really easy way to stay on top of it. Again, it prevents leaking is another thing that it does. It helps you understand, and this is what I was saying earlier in the podcast, helped me realize that I had paid for an annual subscription that I thought I had canceled. And so right after that, I said, well, I lost that, $30, no big deal, but I don't want to lose it again next year. So I'm going to cancel that. So I went into my subscriptions on my iPhone and canceled that subscription. But it just helps you stay on track. It helps you prevent that leaking. It helps you prevent unnecessary spending. And it puts money towards specific goals, puts money towards specific categories. You realize how much you're spending, how much you're actually spending as well in those goals or in those areas, and just helps you get in control of your budget. And again, even with all of this, zero-based more than others, but with all of these budgets, it takes discipline. It takes time. We have to be willing to put in the effort, because if you don't, you're not going to get anything out of it. It's one thing to set up a budget at the beginning of the year and then say, I have a budget, versus setting up a budget at the beginning of the year and following up on it month to month to month, or in some cases, week to week. I like doing week to week just because it makes it easier. It's less daunting of a task, right? There's fewer transactions to go over. So it just makes it easier, right? It's just kind of like, if you go to the gym on a weekly basis, it's easier to walk in the gym, versus if you haven't been to the gym in a while, it might be a little bit hard to get up that initial inertia to walk into the gym. So yeah, if you guys have any questions for me or for Asset Builder, you can email podcast@assetbuilder.com, or you can comment and leave a question there. But as always, Thank you all for tuning in. If you have any questions for Adam, Janet, or Joey concerning this topic or anything else, send us an email at podcast@assetbuilder.com or visit us at our home on the web, assetbuilder.com, where you can set up time to meet with an advisor.